I hope that you are cozied up. I hope that, you know, you're surrounded by love and by comfort and by just good vibes this evening. Thank you so much for taking your time to hang out with us this evening. Tonight we are discussing our careers and purpose, and more specifically marketplace assignments. I am joined by a spectacular and dynamic lineup. I'm really, truly excited to host these humans. First in line, just a little bit of background. I should hope that you have gotten a chance by now to just go over their profiles briefly. They are up on all our social media pages. On Facebook, Instagram, they are available, and as well as on the Women for Jesus app. So to just go straight into who we have this evening, we're joined by I Listen Media, the two cousins duo, Tumelo Semenya and Thabo Setati. And they've been walking this path with us for quite some time. They joined us in 2015 at our Women for Jesus conference, where we discussed a similar topic to this evening's, which was assignment and purpose. So it's good to have them here to help us celebrate this 10-year anniversary. We are also joined by Millycent, Mashele, and Tsholofelo Thobakgale. Millycent Mashele joined us in 2016 at our conference, at our Women for Jesus conference, which went into issues of authenticity. So it's very exciting to have her this evening, and we're very excited to hear what she's going to share with us tonight. We also have, as I've already stated, Tsholofelo Thobakgale, who is a very dear member of our Women for Jesus family. She is an audit manager, and she also, you know, she's going to be sharing with us about, you know, her career path in specific relation to that. And last but not least, we have Meladi Montjane, who's also a dear and near member of Women for Jesus. She is a candidate architect and founder of Herrick Fall. Good evening, humans. How are you this evening? Are you well? How are you feeling, Meladi?
I'm well, thank you. I'm feeling okay. I'm a bit nervous, but I'm good.
I'm glad to hear that. There's no need to be nervous. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna have fun. I'm gonna get straight into our first question this evening, and I'm gonna direct it at I Listen Media. I Listen Media, Tumelo or Thabo, whoever wants to tackle this question. In your experiences, what has been, or what is the link between a career and your purpose?
But you wanna go in? We are faced with new dynamics. Me and States have always been together in every environment for so long. So for the first time, we are not in the same house. So we are unable to brief each other with the answers. I think there has been, I believe there is a link between your passion and your career. We stumble into our passion, and I think oftentimes we find ourselves trying to identify, is my passion my career, is my career my passion? And truth of the matter is that which that you love is supposed to be your career. When we speak about a career field, I think we're speaking about an asset, a person's life's asset. When you're speaking about land, you're speaking about property. Now, a career field is something that becomes your asset. And unfortunately, careers have been made to be chosen because you need income, or you want to find yourself having a specific job that's ranked in society as an important career, or, you know, a highly esteemed career path. But it was not supposed to be the case. We were supposed to pursue that which we are passionate about. And yeah, I think that's where the link is. The passion should lead a path for your career.
Okay, so our passion should lead a path to our career. Thabo, do you want to go into that state?
Yeah,
Do you want to further elaborate
sure
on it?
Yeah, I want to. My network is giving me issues, but I think once we realize who we are, there's so much we can do about ourselves. You can't expand on something that you don't know. So as soon as we figure out that who we are, then we can expand that. And I think that defines a career, because you don't want to be expanding something you don't know in the first place. And that's the only thing I'd add.
Yeah, so I hear that. Now, if I'm sitting at home and I'm listening to both of you, my question then becomes, that's very simple. I mean, I stumbled into my passion. Let's say my passion was playing football. I mean, I found it, How then can I make that practical to then directly apply it to my life such that it translates and links with, what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis or what I'm heading towards, so that it's not just a concept. Okay, this is what I love. I'm passionate about this, and it should lead to the path to my purpose, So my question then becomes, how does that become practical in today's setup?
I think what often happens is that because I think our passion shifts. When you think about it, I grew up dancing, and being a dancer, one thought we're gonna eventually end up opening a dance school. That's where the passion was at the time. But what then happened is that what I believed was my passion then led me to where I am today, which is where I'm convicted that this is my purpose. Because through pursuing and being committed to the passion of dancing, I got to be on a television set, and I realized, wow, this is amazing. I didn't know that you can follow a career in film or television. Now, had I not, given my all in that which that I believed to be a passion at the time, I wouldn't be on a television set. I wouldn't have met producers, directors, seen what they do and get inspired by that. So I believe that which that is your purpose, that God has intended for you to be and to do, you will eventually, I believe, like your past experiences, the environments that God has placed you in, those are stepping stones to what you should be doing. You look at the story like Moses, as much as Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt, and I guess the highlight becomes what Moses had as the stick and used the stick to open the Red Sea. But Moses, as a Jew, had to be brought up in an Egyptian palace. Now that led him to being in a position to be the right person to deliver the Israelites from the Egyptians. So that which that you find yourself enjoying at this moment in time, give it your all, be committed to it, give yourself what you give yourself gives itself back to you. The same principles, biblical principle of give and it shall be given back to you, pressed down, shaken together and running over. So if I give myself to that which that I'm passionate about today, eventually that is bound to give itself back to me.
Word. States, are you with us now? Is your connection stable?
Hey.
I want to pass on the next question to you.
Okay, yeah, I'm connected.
Tumelo shared with us and linking with what he just said about Moses as well. My question to you, seeing as our careers and our purpose puts us in places where we find ourselves with people who have opposing beliefs to us. Now, yeah. I want to find out from you, how have you managed to personally manage the relationships that you have with people who differ from you in terms of your belief system when you are pursuing your purpose assignment?
I enjoy spending time with non-believers because we are the salt of the earth, and the concept of salt is that when you put it in meat or water, it dies out. So when I have to become a Pharisee with them, it's understanding that my career did not start after varsity. The time I was dancing, my career had started. In primary, my career had started. So I've been meeting different people of different beliefs my whole life. So right now, when I'm working with them, I'm just improving on something I started way back. So I enjoy for people to know Christ, they need to see through my life. So they need to see me so that they need to work with me so that they can see Christ in my life. Otherwise, they never see Christ.
Word. I think that's very relatable because I mean we don't live in seclusion. we don't have a Mecca as Christians. We're like, okay, this is our place. Christianity is not a cult. We don't live on a secluded area somewhere else. And I think it's really beautiful to then always be aware of the relationships that we're managing and our position in them as far as living out Christianity. It's a lifestyle after all. Tholo, I have a question for you. How has your assignment, how have you used your assignment to glorify God?
All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Masabala, for the opportunity and Women for Jesus organization. I think first and foremost, what's important is that you do not forget where you come from. And I'm saying this in the sense of that when you are a believer, when you put your faith and everything into God himself, when you get to positions that you've applied for, you've worked hard for, you are going to face a lot of highs and lows. There'll be challenges, but the onus is on you to turn those challenges into, opportunities to do better, opportunities for you to see a silver lining, at the end of the tunnel. And in that, you are able to still glorify the very same God that you prayed to when you needed deliverance, that you prayed to when you felt that, I'm ready for this step into my life. And I've seen that a lot, in my career path so far, in terms of my progression as well. And I've also been, told by fellow colleagues to just remind me that, the way that you've progressed, it's very admirable. And in some instances, people saying that, it has really, sharp shooted its way. And in everything that has happened in all the stages and milestones that I've come across to date, I do not in any way forget where I come from, in the sense of, placing my reliance on the God who has been there for me yesterday, today, and will be there forevermore. So I think the key thing is that you just don't forget where you come from, and you keep acknowledging God. Because I think what happens is, especially in industries or environments whereby there's a lot of stress and there's expectations and there's also titles involved, we tend to shift so much focus on getting through deliverables, getting through what is expected, out of an 8-hour shift day, that we sometimes forget why we are in this position, or why we are in this place, and why we are entrusted. And that's why sometimes we put too much pressure on ourselves and expectations that we are gonna be able to conquer this by ourselves, but forgetting that there's a higher being. There is our Heavenly Father that we can, really lean on and pray unto, and have a moment, even if it's a 5-minute a bathroom break, just to pray in silence, and just to seek for that guidance from him. So that's how I feel that one can always try to glorify God in whatever opportunity that one is presented with, even challenges as well.
Certainly God needs to be glorified through our challenges as well. Mama Millycent, my question to you is, as far as marketplace assignments go, and the pressure that is there in the marketplace, what are your insights that you have to share with regards to how God can be glorified through our marketplace assignment?
Thank you so much, and greetings and evening to the viewers. I just want to thank you for the opportunity. In relation to the marketplace and the assignments that God has given us, is really a personal relationship that we have with God, and knowing that God has sent us. In my personal space and my personal life, I actually live by the verse in Acts 1 verse 8, which says you will receive power and you will go and be witnesses in Jerusalem, in Judea, and the rest of the world. So then every time I am in the workplace, I always know that I represent God. I'm actually a witness for God. So then, because I know that witnessing for God then requires me to always find my source from Him. I always take, when an agent is representing like an insurance company, that person will be wearing a brand that is for that company. They will represent that company specifically, and they will be trained by that company to speak the language of that company. So I always take myself as an agent of heaven, and I'm actually representing heaven. So every time I'm very aware that I have team heaven, I'm just a representative on earth. So whatever I do, I always attentively listen to the Holy Spirit and say, Holy Spirit, what are we doing now? We might be working with numbers because I'm an accountant. It will manifest in numbers, it will manifest in accounting, it will manifest in auditing. But at the end of the day, I'm not selling auditing, I'm not selling accounting. I would not tell people I'm not selling accounting. But in my assignment, I know I'm selling hope, I'm selling the gospel of Christ, I'm selling teaching, I'm selling more than just what I'm doing in the realm of the world. So then it means that personal relationship with Christ and the Holy Spirit becomes so crucial in whatever we do. And there are days where the Holy Spirit just wakes me up and say, pray for this company that you're working with. And it's a client, but then I get to now go an extra mile because now the Holy Spirit is now ministering and want to manifest something through me in that space that I'm working on. So that's how I actually know that our assignments are more than just what we are doing in the realm of the world, and they are more about our career. I always say career becoming ministry. So it's more ministry than it is in the real sense of things. Yeah. Okay.
Pardon me. Thank you, Mama Millycent. I'm saying, just to capture what you're saying, I think I really, really found what you're saying to be spot on in terms of, it being more of a ministry than what we always, approach it as it being a career. So really, thank you for that. My next question is to Meladi. I feel today we're living in a day and age where it's so easy to go with trends. It's so easy to be the same as everyone else, in terms of what we like, the people we follow, the people we admire, and. So my question to you, Meladi, is how can we as Christians stand out, and specifically, how do you stand out in your area of influence?
Thank you for the invite, and thank you for the lovely intro, Masibala. I think standing out as a Christian is all about your character and having the know-how that it's absolutely dependent on God, and accepting that we are all different. And when you know that we are all different and He made us different so that you can appeal to certain people. So you will never find a sphere of influence that's always going in one direction. You will establish yourself in God, and you also establish your interests as well, and you will develop that. And that will always help you stand out from the rest. So I think the idea of us following trends, something has to resonate with you, and you have to figure out what resonates with you and what makes you who you are and what makes you believe in God and what it is that God has placed in your heart. And with that, you will start to seek out people with a similar mindset, but not only to follow, but also to learn, because that's how we learn and that's how we grow, because people have gone before us. we are not all about to start something new, but people have gone before us and they've led us in particular journeys and in different types of spiritual walks. So that will always allow us to grow towards that. So the idea of not following trends, I think you have to be true to yourself and you have to know who you are for you not to just fall for any and every trend, or else you're going to be very confused by the end of the day.
Certainly, and there is a lot to follow. Now, I want to find out from you, Meladi, while we're still here, like what are some of the challenges that you've experienced in juggling a full-time career as well as your business on the side? I think if you can share with us, a lot of our viewers over the past couple of weeks since the conference has started have really been expressing their desire to find out how to juggle the two. So if you could give us insight on that, please.
I think, so it's basically in three folds, where one, you're leading yourself, two, you're being led, and the other, you're leading someone else. So you're leading yourself in both your career and your work. So you have to find that motivation within yourself. And then two, you're being led, because you're working a 9 to 5, you are in a team and you guys are basically codependent to perform together. And the third one is where you are leading. So there's someone else who's depending on you to perform your role for their daily bread as well. It gets difficult, and the balance is like it gets blurred where there are no hours and you almost have to work in advance. For example, like you'd work in advance for work over a weekend just so that you can make time during the week in the evenings for your own personal stuff. So you almost have to balance the two. And I'm going to say your first responsibility is to your career, which is your 9 to 5, and your side hustle. That's where you need to put in the extra hours. If you're sleeping at 12, you're sleeping at 12. You're sleeping at 2 a.m., you're sleeping at 2 a.m. If you don't have much of a life, and that is what actually happens, like your life becomes circled around work, and you have to somewhat find a balance. And the idea that it's going to be great at all times will not exist, and it's about making peace with that, but also knowing that you've got a responsibility to someone else and you've got people who are responsible to you as well. So it's just that idea that in one instance, yes, you're leading, but in another instance, you're also being led.
Thank you for that. Just a disclaimer, if you're watching at home, if you're joining us, you're more than welcome to ask us questions. We love your questions, and our panelists are more than capable of handling them. And I'm also going to note that of our speakers, 2 of them are actually in full-time entrepreneurship and the issue of running your own business. So they left their 9 to 5. It's just a little bit of background. And we also have 2 who have full-time employment, but they're also doing their own thing on the side. And Tsholofelo, for example, is doing her own thing, which is not really looking at the money of monetizing her passion or what her area of interest. So Tsholofelo, I'm going to direct this next question to you. In terms of when it comes to doing your own thing on the side, if you could also just let us in a little bit on it and let us know a little bit more about it. How important is it to do that? Is it important? And why are you not monetizing it? We're also in a culture of, like, do you get a side hustle? You can't just live on one thing, why are you not, going full on and monetizing that area of interest?
Sure, Masval. What a question. I'm laughing about it now because so many of my friends have been on my case to say, let's come through for Sundays and, charge me for a plate. And it's like, okay, all right, I'll think about it. So just some brief background. I call myself a foodie because I can't really use the term chef since I'm not a professional chef. So basically that is what I do with my heart, with my soul, with my everything. And I think maybe it has become a bit of a challenge for me to try and, put it in a monetary form because it's coming from, within. And why I'm saying that is, fortunately for me, when I was growing up, my aunt introduced me to cooking at a very early age. Actually, baking was the first and foremost a form of, cooking education that I got from home. And I just fell in love with it. I just loved being in the kitchen. And I just found myself, later as I started growing up, wanting to experiment and explore in terms of different recipes, love watching cooking shows and so forth. And that is why, for me, cooking is therapeutic. And it might sound like a cliche to say, oh, but if I go to the spa, it's therapeutic. If I read a book, it's therapeutic. For me, cooking is not a chore whatsoever. And it helps me just stay sane. And I think why that is very important is, looking at my 9 to 5, sometimes it escalates to a 9 to 10 p.m., like similarly to what Meladi was saying in terms of, you push in the extra hours so that you can do something on the side where you have, full enjoyment and passion for. So in this regard, for me, when I take out that wooden spoon and switch on my stove, that is my happiest moment. And I'm really hearing the message. I'm not disputing it, guys, in terms of turning it into some form of monetary benefit. I just feel that I need to be an authentic cook. And why I'm saying that is there's so many people, that have come out having their own cookbooks, having their own cooking pages, that have gone full-time into the culinary world. And I wanted to do something different. And right now I'm still doing research and development. And when the time comes, and should it come around, yes, you will be definitely looking out for hashtag the left-handed foodie, as that is my Instagram handle for my cooking page. Basically, I try to put up the recipes in as much detail as possible. And yeah, I really don't mind sharing at this moment because it's just coming from my heart, Thanks.
Thank you, Tsulu. The general theme that I'm getting is that, we really want God to be glorified at the end of the day through our assignments, and we're really, really striving for excellence at all times, and because it's really important, and I believe it's one of the things that will make us stand out as Christians. Now, but my question becomes then, what happens in moments when we are not excellent? And, I'm asking this specifically also looking at, we're right bam in the center of a pandemic, and it becomes difficult to just sometimes function, So I'm directing this question to Mama Millycent, and thereafter, the I Listen media guys, if you will, please indulge us. The question is, can God be glorified through our failures? And what is the significance of failure on this marketplace assignment and pursuit for excellence journey?
Thank you. I always say, if failure was written on somebody's forehead, I think I'll just have a very big failure on my forehead, purely because I take and experience failure daily. That's what I say to people that are looking at my career progression. I can tell you that if you were to look at my profile, you would actually think, you are lying to us, you are not failing. But through the daily failures that I experience, small or big, I actually get to understand and learn and understand the purpose and the process. And at the end of the day, the dots connect. For example, I failed a lot when I was doing my accounting profession to become a chartered accountant, and the route was a bit long for me. But at some point, I became a lecturer at TUT. And then that experience of failing as a student helped me teach my students with passion and with compassion and with understanding of what they're going through, that me as a minister, as a teacher, which I was a minister in a way, helped me minister so well that I actually got my students, I believe that they have hope in what they are doing. So then failure, if you were to connect it then to my journey and my career, you'll realize that it was indeed a process that prepared me for certain ministry work that was for me in the future. So that's why when I fail, even now in business, as I fail every day, I'm like, there's another village girl that is coming who would be experiencing certain failure elements, and I will have to be the coach, or they will have to come and find inspiration from me. Telling my story will inspire them so much. So failure, I take it as a good lesson and also part of the process to be able to train and help other people in the ministry of what I'm doing. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it does glorify God because it is His purpose.
Mm.
Yeah.
Tumelo, will you please indulge us? Failure, is it a friend? Is it a foe? Should it be embraced? Should it be feared?
What is failure? Because I'm asking because I believe it's a perspective. It has no meaning until somebody announces it to you. So we come from the background of dancing. Having to audition was daunting. And you'd always be rejected and you feel like I've given my best. So you could walk away from that audition feeling like a failure, or walk away feeling like I am on the journey towards becoming a better performer or better dancer. So failure is insignificant and has no power until you give it the power. The only power that failure has is the one that you carry, to say, I am a failure, and you embody and camp at that title and camp in that space where you feel like you failed. And also what contributes immensely to that is your association. We succeed by association, we fail by association. The same way with faith. You know, faith comes by hearing, and fear comes by hearing. So the more you hear people, it's like during this pandemic, people see this as a crisis. Others see it as an opportunity. Other people see it as an opportunity to start over, to reflect, to reconstruct, to re-strategize. And others see it as a moment of crumbling and, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And it's just a panic. I believe we give failure a license to taunt or torment us.
Well, damn. Okay. That's a very interesting perspective. Stace, do you want to elaborate further on that issue, on the topic? Failure, is it a friend? Is it a foe? Is it to be feared? Is it to be embraced?
I've failed my 11th grade. And that has been the best thing that has ever happened to me. If I was to go back, I'd fail again. Because there's beauty in failure, which we choose not to see. And like me and Socks in the company, we disagree more than we agree, because if we both agreed, then one of us would not be thinking. So we disagree because the company is struggling or failing in certain things, and we want it to improve at those things. So in most cases, you find that in business, we apply fear where we're supposed to apply faith. It's like driving on the highway at 180 with cars on all sides. And then instead of pressing on the accelerator, you press the brake. Then you create chaos all around you. So what Socks is saying, that your association is important, because you don't want to be around people who just break for no reason. So I failed then because of certain things I had in my life. I know why. And I learned from them. I choose to see the beauty in it. So I find myself in a car accident. I choose to see the beauty in it. So it's choosing to see the goodness of God in everything that happens to you.
Thank you for that. Meladi, what are your thoughts on the issue of, being in business and finding your way through it, trying to re-strategize and rethink opportunities instead of chaos. So my question is, how has God been glorified through moments where you have felt that this is an epic fail? How can God be glorified through failure?
Okay. I think failure offers an opportunity for redemption. And redemption in the sense that when you fail, you can either leave it at that or you can improve the situation. And it brings about, obviously it brings about certain emotions inside of you where you feel like, okay, I failed and I don't know how I'm gonna do this, and should I actually be doing this? And I think that's something that also comes up when you're running a business. It comes up as, okay, am I actually meant to be doing this, because you failed at it? But if you ask yourself, do I imagine myself doing anything else, and it's a no, that means that yes, you're meant to be doing this. You need to figure out how to do it more effectively. And that's the redemptive part about it, that at the end of the day, you will see the improvement, you will see the progress. And God is glorified in that, in your process. He's constantly glorified in your shifting and your growing and your changing. And I think failure brings that focus of redemption, and it reminds me of grace and mercy, that is actually a constant thing within our lives and within our businesses, like as we are running them, that we're also not quitting at the slightest sight of that very failure that we are experiencing.
I'm glad you said that. As you're speaking, I'm reminded of, these memes where they show a person's life path, and, they basically tend to explain that it's not a linear journey. It's, in a detour. Sometimes you have to go down under a bridge. Sometimes you have to cross a river and there are crocodiles in there, and you just have to keep on shouting in the name of Jesus. I'm doing this the other side. So we want to get to the other side. I think anybody who's in business, anybody who is on their job, on their 9 to 5, and really seeking out to walk this journey with Christ and have him glorified through our marketplace assignments, really desires that. Now, my next question then becomes, is it ever okay to quit? And I'm directing this one at both Mama Millycent and I Listen Media, because on the entrepreneurial journey, we often get into it and we have it set, or what, I'm gonna build this thing and I'm going to make it last for generations, for the next generation and the next generation and the next generation. But that is not always the case. So my question then becomes, is it ever okay to quit? Or should we just press on towards the mark of the high calling? Should we pull it out? Should we peter it out, and trust that, when Christ comes, everything will be made perfect? Tumelo, is it ever okay to quit?
It's quite a difficult question, even though it sounds simple.
I know, yes.
I always look at the business or a vision that one has, and I place it into the distant future. And it looks at me from afar, and whatever move that I make, the question that it poses to me is that, are you getting any closer to me? It forces me to navigate differently, because whenever I think of quitting, I look at the vision and it looks so good. It looks so beautiful. It's calling me to the other side. And if it really means that much to you, quitting is not an option. Imagine if every person that invented the things that we have today quit. We wouldn't have a light bulb. We wouldn't have cars. So when you quit, you are not only quitting for yourself, there is generations after you that depend on the calling and the gift that God has given you. That when you quit, you bail out on generations. So I know it's daunting and it becomes heavy on the vision bearer or the person that's being called, but to whom much is given, much is required. If we all just would hop and, which is another phenomenon and dynamic that exists that's quite frustrating, then we'll end up having a whole lot of people that start things but don't finish them. Imagine if we had a whole lot of unfinished products, unfinished cars, unfinished houses, because we all quitting on the job.
Social media poetic, blind. Oh, quitting your career, something.
Stace, let us have your thoughts. Let us have your thoughts.
I think when we're in business, it's competitive. Sometimes you don't quit because you want to, but you quit. You have companies are being liquidated every day. The people who are there don't want to be there. So the nature of business is hard, but then the first law of the actual nature is self-preservation, and that's the first law of business. So it means when I talk to SOCs, we look at, okay, we're in COVID. What's an essential in our company? And then we look into that to say, if our essential cannot survive, then maybe we cannot survive. But we will fight to make sure that we preserve the most important things in our business so that it can not only survive this era. No, we are not surviving right now. This is not gonna end. So if you're waiting for this to end, it doesn't end. We just have a new life. This is the new life. So we had to be pressured to have a meeting like this, to speak about Christ like this, because this is maybe a new way which is evolving. And this is us not quitting. There's a quote that says, "Not allowing things to be as they are is the mother of all inventions." You give birth to innovation by disagreeing with your situation. So Sancho already le.
Okay.
Yes, thank you so much, Stace. Noted. To your point about, companies being in liquidation in this moment, it's a really tough moment. But, I really, really embrace what you say about, for this to end, but rather just engaging effectively with it and realizing that, it is already what it will be. So thank you very much for that. Mama Millycent, yes, you mentioned earlier about, when people look at you, they might think, I know you were shy, about this your profile, So yes, if you will, is it ever okay to quit? And if not, what advice do you have to someone in this moment who may be thinking, you know what, I think I should liquidate this thing, because there are people out there during this time who are faced with that very, very difficult decision. So if you could please let us have your insights with regards to that.
On issues of quitting and issues of letting go, in my way of doing things, I have a rule that says, finish what you've started. Quitting is not an option, but growing is an option. So in all that I do, I always reflect and say, is this something that I can finish myself? Then if I can finish, then I have to finish. Like I started a degree 5 years back. I'm now in the finish line, but it was so hard not to finish it. but I went back and said, I need to finish this thing. I started it. But in issues of business and other relationships, you find that sometimes it's a marathon. You cannot just finish yourself. There are times where you need to hand in to another person who can take it over, because maybe at that level you are not capacitated to go forward. So then there has to be a sense of understanding of your role, and what you started might need to now evolve to another environment or another a space where you can now give. Because sometimes you find that there are businesses which had great future and all that, but because people didn't want to let go and give it to as a marathon to other people, there's no succession planning in it, then it dies because someone never wanted to let go. So there has to be that understanding of saying, I've done my part and my part finishes here. Then now let's give it to another marathon to run the race, because it becomes a race at any given point. So then even as well in under COVID situations is also understanding that we grow and evolve, and we need to strategically link up with God, because I always say God is a strategist. We can use him for strategic vision and how we can continue. So it's also those issues of saying strategically, I might be changing services. I'm not quitting that service space. I'm just strategically shifting towards the new era and the new way of doing things. That cannot be said as quitting. But in my view, quitting is not an option.
Sure. Some very, very, very strong sentiments relayed there. Thank you so much. My last question to all 5 of you is, what does it mean in your personal journey or path? What does it mean to be a culture shifter? Tsholofelo, if you will, please kickstart that one for us.
Thank you, Masibala. I'm laughing yet again because I was thinking about this question earlier on today, and you know what was on my mind was I can't really say what's a culture shifter, especially having been listening to previous messages echoed by previous speakers during the conference, and I had to just take a second and think about it. And for me, I would say that it's just about pushing boundaries but staying true to yourself. And I think this would possibly echo more with a lot of females, young upcoming women like ourselves, who are right now really leading in terms of our positions at work and opportunities that we get as well, etc. And why I feel it's so important to, push the boundaries, but still remain who you are, grounded in your principles, your values, your goals, is that the environment, working environment, whether it be one that you report to or one that you are delegating downwards to your staff, is bound to change. It's bound to change in a positive light as well as a negative light. But you need to stay constant to who you are, what you believe in, and what you stand for. And changing the narrative or breaking boundaries or breaking down the walls doesn't mean that you have to do it sacrificing what you stand for, what you hold most virtuous to. It still says that stay relevant, but don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid of, tapping into areas that might seem daunting, or you might feel that you're intimidated, but get into those spaces. And if you don't succeed at that point in time, it doesn't mean that you should stop trying. Find new ways and approaches as well. And if you focus to your goals, you will definitely be a culture shifter in this essence. Thank you.
Thank you. Meladi, do you want to take it next? What does it mean to be a culture shifter?
Okay, I think a culture shifter, like Tula said, it's someone who is authentic. A culture shifter is someone who is able to set a new tone. And I think a new tone is in a way which you give a voice to a different set of people who feel, oh, okay, that's actually how I feel about my vocation. That's actually how I feel about my purpose. They identify and they're able to move with a new confidence within that direction. So a culture shifter, I think it's someone who takes the lead and takes a stand for something that is meaningful, something that will have longevity, and something that will inspire people. Yeah.
Thank you. Mama Millycent, what is a culture shifter? What does it mean to be a culture shifter?
A culture shifter for me, it's really just being bold, brave, and courageous as a human being, and leading with humility and allowing yourself to be vulnerable to your weaknesses, and being able to lead really with authenticity from within. When other people are thinking we should follow, we should do this, but you know within what it says for you, you then live it out regardless of what the norm is saying in that sense.
Thank you so much. Stace, what does it mean to be a culture shifter?
My sister, it is being a culture shifter. To me, it's like someone who goes against the traffic. If you have the guts to go against the traffic, then everything is against you, because you are saying actually that's the shift. The shift might be something which no one is thinking. And I think how we normally think about our careers is that we have categorized them, and we need to throw away the whole thing and stop categorizing things. Because to God doesn't work with my career in a faculty. So as an artist, my job is not to shoot movies, but rather to translate like he translates. And it would be tricky if we have an actual scientist who is able to solve any X of any interest in the future, but cannot solve the X of the problems in his life. Or understanding that the phenomenon of accounting is not in numbers, but in being able to account into your own life. And I think being a culture shifter, saying, guys, actually, we might be looking at this the wrong way. Let's look at this maybe in this way.
Tumelo, please share with us your sentiments. What do you consider to be a culture shifter?
I think it's important, first and foremost, to understand that everyone has the capacity to be a culture shifter. There is a quote that I recently figured, that the future of the seed is not ahead of it. The future of the seed is inside of it. The tree is inside the seed. So being a culture shifter is in each and every one of us. We've got the capacity and the capabilities to be culture shifters. Being a culture shifter means building a city on a hill. It's difficult. It can be hidden. You can't hide a city on a hill. Being a culture shifter means it means standing up. It means being able to stand up true to power, be able, like Tsholofelo said, being able to go against the tide, but not compromise your principles, not compromise who God says you are, not compromise what the word says about you. And I think as much as we are shifting cultures, we need to also take a stand and ask ourselves, where are we shifting the culture to? What culture am I shifting? It's all good and well to want to be culture shifters, but where are we taking the cultures to?
So we don't have any questions from our attendees this evening. So I just want, in case somebody's looking, going, because we did touch on the end product, but a lot of people I know have great difficulty just starting, starting on that idea, or, trying to even bring themselves to the thought that, I can do something outside of my 9 to 5, whether for monetizing it, for the purpose of monetizing it or not. So in closing, if you could all just share with us, any motivational words for anyone who may be having difficulty starting. I will start with Mama Millycent, if you could.
Okay, starting is not easy. It's one of those daunting issues that comes, especially starting something new at our age. Once we are old, it's so hard to start something, purely because we have gotten into a routine of doing things, and the fear that comes with it also brings a lot of issues. So my advice, really, if you want to start something, start small. Believe in who sent you. Really, as children of God, we have an advantage, an added advantage, that we have the Holy Spirit too. I always say God sometimes just open the door and say, hey, when again, like pushes me in the door. I'm like, but God, but I can't. He'll be like, hey, again, they will now find us, Gucci. You are not supposed to get in here. I think God just gets me to get into places that I'm like, I'm not supposed to be here, and be like, hey, sit here now. So trust God. He's gonna let you in, and he's gonna make you, he's gonna allow you to learn. He has a process that will allow you to grow, and he will not humiliate you because you represent him, because we represent God. When we are in, we are covered, but we just need to be aligned and attached to him as our source. So if you are attached to the source and you're convicted, and I can always see everything that is happening and relate it to a prayer. So pray about it, trust God, and you take off the fear, and you say the just shall live by faith, and you start showing forth faith in whatever God has placed in your heart, and then all will follow.
Faith always sounds like a great place to start. Meladi, any words of encouragement for somebody who might be having difficulty starting?
Start, hey? I think that's, in all honesty, you can literally spend a whole year planning to start, and you actually never get to it because you feel like the timing is not right. I don't know, your stars are not aligned, or you're just too busy for something. But the truth of the matter is once you actually get started, the burden of starting leaves you, and you've caught on to what you're doing. So every time you delay, you cause more anxiety, and that overtakes you more than you actually doing what you're doing. So by the end of the day, you realize, wait, I actually spent 5 hours worrying about doing something when I could have actually done it. And the only way you'll know if you're actually good at something is if you literally put your heart into it. And the first thing that you do, and I feel like the first thing that, the first clothing I made was for myself. And that's how you start a business. You don't just start by going out and you're doing something for someone else, but you put your heart into something that is very personal for you, and you need to trust God with that. And that's a point of self-discovery between you and God, and you finding your talents and understanding who you are. And I think don't put so much pressure on monetizing it in that moment, but start so you can figure out what it means to actually refine it before you give it to someone else, or before you present it to the world. So the best advice, honestly, start and get people to review your work. If you have people around you who are very supportive and who can give you feedback, that's also something really great, because they'll be able to support you through that and tell you, oh, this works, this doesn't work, or maybe try this or that.
Thank you so much. Go forth, go forth. States, I see you nodding. I think you're ready to jump in. Any words that you'd like to share with somebody who's having difficulty starting, who's just like overwhelmed?
Yeah. And I think it's everyone. It's not only some people, it's everyone who wants to start something. Even people who have started want to start something else in what they've started. So I think the first question I'd ask myself is that, how did God start? And God started in darkness, and he said that let there be light. The first thing is just mentioning it. It's for starters. Before you create it, just to mention it. Now, this one goes to women. And it's like our creation, and I think maybe, and this is maybe a motive for why SA needs, or all over the world, we need more women in these positions of business, is because they are equipped and they are able to manage so much. And it's like I said, God starts. I was listening to a sermon, and then they were explaining that in Genesis 0:0, it was dark, and God said, "Let there be." And it's the same way where if a seed is put in you, like Sok said, it is in the darkness of who you are because you are supernatural. After I think around 6 weeks, there's a enzyme in the body called CPH4, which then it's a chemical reaction. So start and leave things to God and let the chemical reactions of God take over. So when we started the business, we had some ideas, but we started and realized our ideas were actually crazy. Then we had to learn. Now we're learning, and we're still learning even today. So give things to God, and when God says test me, people like going to Malachi. Just test him with other things. Test him with that, but take the business and throw it to him and see what he can do with it. And he will surprise you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, States. Tumelo, would you like to add?
Oh, yes.
It's also okay if you want to let it pass. I'm not putting you on the spot.
No, you're not putting me on the spot. Look, we have a lot of airtime, me and States, so we don't mind. I think what I'd like to say is stop making money an issue. Because the minute you make money an issue, you're going to deny yourself an opportunity. You are going to create a stop sign for the vision instead of allowing to get a sign to encourage you to find your way to your purpose. Most of the businesses that we attracted, money was not an issue. We saw relationships more valuable than money. And as a result, the relationships has brought longevity within our clientele. The clients we have are clients we've worked with from 4 years back, 5 years back. They bring more clients because we value relationships. And the minute you realize that money is not an issue, you'll start to realize that you are the one that's delaying yourself. Because God has placed you in the environment that you are in so that you have a unique story. But you want to have the same starting point as Tumelo. You want to have the same starting point as somebody else. God saw it fit that you be born in the family that you're born in, so that your story does not look or sound like anybody else's story. Amen.
Sure. Sarah, thank you. That means Jesus loves us, and we should repent. And yes, Tulu, do you want to wrap up for us? How somebody's sitting at home thinking, how do I start? Ke COVID bathong, ke tla thoma pandemic, you know, like, any words?
Sure. So sometimes let's not reinvent the wheel, hey? Sometimes a re tšeng maele a batho ba ba thomileng re bona gore ba feditše kae a re tšweleng pele. There's a book that I love by Malcolm Gladwell. It's called The Outliers. So it tries to, you know, break the barriers of what is perceived as success, being successful in life, and showing different cases of different people that went through attaining this success in various methods, and some of them, you know, orthodox as well. So we're also very fortunate to live or be amongst communities of people that have come before us, have started something, and they could only get to a certain point. And I think this is where now we have to take that baton and continue running this race. And it's okay to go to someone and say, I have a concept, I need advice on ABC, like what Meladi was saying, that get something reviewed by someone else. I don't see it as a point of weakness or saying that you're by myself, I can't. But sometimes by yourself at that point, you don't have ABCD skills, so you need someone else to assist. So in terms of starting, you know, first assess what you want to do, where you are, and whether or not you need someone to just assist with, you know, kickstarting the idea, the concept, or where you are and you need someone to just, you know, be in your ear, be your motivator, be, you know, your mentor, and just help you through it. So yeah, let's not, you know, think that we all have one journey in terms of one straight and narrow path. Let's see other avenues, but, you know, honestly, like Meladi was saying earlier, there's never going to be a right time to start. If not now, when?
When. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And, you know, I'm reminded at this particular juncture of, you know, Zechariah 4 verse 10, that says, do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin, to see the plumb line in Zerubbabel's hand, you know. And it also just, you know, reminds you of, you know, what's in your hand, you know. And it's not even just a physical thing, but what's in your heart, what's in your mind, you know. All these assignments leading to our ultimate purpose, if, you know, it's something that we're really, really convicted of, at the end of the day, they will glorify God, no matter the kind of journey and the ups and downs that prevail or we encounter on the way. So that said, thank you very, very much, panelists, for your time this evening. And thank you to anybody and everybody who joined us this evening in celebration of our 10 years anniversary as Women for Jesus. Please do not forget to register. The celebrations have not ended. Even next week we are coming back, and it's gonna be great. We're gonna make sure that we have, you know, something really, really yummy and wonderful for you all as you join us in our celebrations. So on that note, we have a family meeting right now in South Africa. So I'm going to release everybody. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi, Level.
I think he ended the live stream.
Oh, I'm almost
the conference. So I'm just gonna